I'm here with MJ. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey, what's going on, everyone? I'm MJ Vallejo. I'm a videographer and video producer, however you want to call it. There's a lot of different names for it.
Cinematographer.
Um, I could be a I do cinematography work sometimes. Yes, so I think I would fall under that category as well. Yeah. How you doing, Tim?
Good, man. Good. Just making the most out of shelter in place right now. So MJ was actually supposed to be in a in-person podcast, but due to current events, we're doing this over Zoom. So
Yeah.
so tell me a little bit about your work and kind of like what you do and what that entails and all that.
Yeah, so I mean, like anyone could imagine, a videographer or a video producer, they're essentially some guy who um walks around with the camera and then actually I'll start from I'll start from the basics because I want everyone to listening to understand there's actually a big difference between filmmakers and videographers, okay? Because when it comes to filmmaking you have a specific job and that's all you do. When you're a videographer, you're doing everything from point A to B, and that's even going from the pre-production in terms of like when it comes to like casting, script writing, even just planning out the shoot, and you're actually shooting and directing, and you're the cinematographer, and you're also editing and delivering to your client. So that's what a videographer does. Almost sounds like a jack of all trades. That's pretty much what it is. Currently, yeah, right now, I mean, with the recent work, I am a videographer doing everything from A to Z. Hopefully, one day you and me in the future, Tim, we will be working as filmmakers where we have our niche down jobs, and we're doing only that.
Yeah, as soon as this shelter in place is over, I think that'll be a reality. But
Yeah,
no, that's
I
cool.
really hope so.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting thing that I haven't really put a whole lot of thought into because, as you know, so I'm not really a cinematographer, filmmaker, or anything. I'm more of an editor and on set, kind of like a technical director. Um, but that's kind of an interesting thing. A videographer who is not doing like films, but does like weddings or parties or events or stuff. They kind of do everything, from directing all the way down to actually shooting the video. They just kind of do everything, and they also, if there's audio needed, then I'm guessing you're in charge of audio too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that includes everybody on the team, and I guess on the filmmaking side as well. Where like if you're a gaffer, or even if you're like an audio person, like if you're a boom mic holder, like like a boom operator, you're technically in my books you're a filmmaker,
Hmm.
straight up, right? Like because you're contributing to the making of a film.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're like working a wedding and then you're setting up a light stand, um, like at the reception, and you're gaff taping down some cables so nobody trips and dies, then yeah, sure,
Yeah.
maybe you're working as a gaffer too at a wedding.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I used to DJ weddings a lot, and yeah, cable management is very important.
oh yeah, tell me about it. I mean, well, when you DJ'd weddings, did you have to MC as well?
I preferred not to, but sometimes it was kind of expected. And then
Uh-huh.
I would tell them like, look, if I'm gonna MC, that's an extra charge. Like, because I don't personally, I don't like being over the mic at a wedding. My biggest fear is when I say their names, I'm gonna say it wrong.
Oh, okay. But like, do you try to do you have to force like this energy in terms of that the grand entrance?
Yeah, yeah. Because
Yeah.
normally during a wedding, when I'm working a wedding, I'm really focused and stressed out, and I'm really just like like get everything done, make sure everything's perfect, and then all of a sudden I have to like get out of it and be like, and here cut, and that's just not me at a wedding. like
Yeah,
especially if there's like a friend of mine at a wedding and all that, and they come up and try and talk to me, it's just, I almost ignore them because I'm just so focused on like the work. And then after the fact, like when I'm cleaning up, they'll be like, hey, are we cool? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm so sorry, like I was just focused, like I barely even remember you walking up.
oh man, and I'm sure like I think weddings is probably the one notorious times where you're getting a lot of song requests too.
Yes, and so that's actually one of the reasons why I don't really do weddings anymore. Is so I'm kind of unlike most DJs. I hate getting song requests. I hate it. I hate it. I absolutely
Hmm.
hate it. I used to DJ at a bar once a week. I had a residency there, and and all the time they would come up, and I asked the bar manager to because he was kind of particular about the music that was played, and like from 4 to 9 you can't have any swear words because these are like corporate people who come here because it was they had a kitchen too, and so they had a lot of corporate people there, and they're just like, it's just a bad vibe, but like we don't want swear words in there. Just, you can play your normal music, but just make sure it's a clean version. And then after 9 to 2, it was like, okay, you can play whatever you want, like doesn't matter.
Hmm.
And so uh I asked him to like go and approve my playlist. That way, when people came up for song requests, I'd be like, "Hey, sorry, I'm working off a pre-approved playlist. I can't throw songs into there." And it was the greatest like excuse to get out of that of all time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, because then that makes you not the bad guy. It's like, oh man, so it's like whoever's signing your check, it's their fault, and they suck.
Exactly, my hands are tied.
Yeah.
It's pretty great. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, I hate song requests, which at a wedding, that's like all you get. It's like you could pretty much do your whole playlist off song requests. And as someone, so I'm not a career wedding DJ, and so it's not like I have every single like song that's good for a wedding sitting on a hard drive. I mean, I have probably like 50 gigs of just music for dancing, which comes out to like probably like 18 to 20 hours of music around there.
Mm.
And so I have a lot, but the when I get a song request, it's always like that one song I don't have.
Oh wow. I mean, I know. I know. Recently, you took a you took a step out of your comfort zone and you became a wedding videographer recently. I
Yes.
you got to tell me about that, man. I'm really interested to hear about this.
So yeah, so it was my cousin's wedding, and there were a ton of hurdles to jump through, and they're probably gonna watch this, so I hate you guys. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, it was fun. It was fun. But so what happened was they they went and they splurged on photographers, which in my opinion is a great idea. You want to get the most expensive photographer that you can possibly afford, because if your wedding photos are crap, that's going to stick with you for the rest of your life. So so their wedding took place on a, I think, 300-acre cattle ranch, where there was no PG&E power. Um,
Hmm.
and when I got there, uh, it rained like a couple hours before, so the whole cattle ranch was like flooded. So
No
yeah,
way.
and I got there the day before. That way I could help with the setup of the wedding, but I didn't know the setup was going to be spreading hay all over into these mud puddles to where it would absorb the water and stuff, and people could walk on it without sinking into mud. So I didn't know that. But even when I got there the day before, their driveway is like probably like a mile long incline, so it's like pretty steep, and it's a dirt road, so the whole road was mud. um, so
Oh
luckily,
man.
I came in my Jeep, which has a lift kit on it and it has 4-wheel drive, but I had to put it in 4-wheel drive and basically crawl up the hill.
Were you on
Um,
four low?
yeah, I was on 4 low. Um,
Oh man.
yeah, and I had to climb up the hill, and like just the car was like drenched in mud after, and I was like I barely made it up. In fact, the person in front of me, it was a pickup truck pulling a trailer, and they had to reverse down the hill because they couldn't make it up.
Wow. And to go off on a little bit of a tangent here, just to show my ignorance when it comes to four-wheel drive vehicles, what is the difference between using four high and four low, and when do you know when to use which?
So 4 low is on automatic vehicles. It's more of like a control thing. There's a whole lot of very technical differences that I would probably butcher if I tried to explain it. But basically, 4 low is more for control. And so you have a lot more natural engine braking. So you don't have to ride the gas and brake as much. Basically, as soon as you let off the gas, the car will start slowing down a lot. And 4 low is not something that you go fast on. It's meant for very low speeds. It synchronizes your wheels a little bit more, so you have more control with how your wheels spin. And it's meant for like if you're going down a really steep hill that's slippery, you can just kind of let it ride. You don't have to ride the brakes. Or if you're going up a hill that's really muddy, like in my situation, it'll help synchronize the wheels and just kind of give you a little bit more control over what's going on. So
Okay.
and 4 high is meant for like if you're just regular driving on a dirt road, but you want 4-wheel drive, you can put it in 4 high and actually get up to like 20-30 miles an hour.
Also, like sand then. So like if you're trying to like go Baja California, then
Yeah,
you go 4 high.
yeah, you would
Okay.
use 4 high, and you could just kind of rip through. Your car shifts kind of like normal, and more for yeah. So yeah, like in sand dunes, 4 high, you would use that.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
fun fact.
Nice.
I used to go off roading quite often, and so luckily I was skilled enough to be able to, because even if you put the car in 4-wheel drive, it still takes skill to do obstacles. You can't just put it in 4-wheel drive and then just go for it. Like you have to know what you're
Yeah.
doing. Like if the car starts sliding this way when you're just going straight, you have to know how to counter steer to kind of get it back in track. Because if all 4 wheels are spinning on mud, especially, your car has no traction. You're barely getting enough traction to push the car forward. And so your car is just going to be sliding everywhere. And that's exactly what I was doing up the hill. It was actually really fun because
Mhm.
that was the first type of mud I took my Jeep on after I put a lift kit on it. And also I just didn't off road for a long time because I didn't have a vehicle to do it. And so now, that was like my first time hitting mud and all that. So I was actually having fun. I was enjoying myself. But I was worried for all the people coming the next day for the wedding, because not everyone has off-roading skill and a 4-wheel drive lifted Jeep that they could drive up the hill with. Like
Yeah.
my brother went to the wedding in a minivan. My other brother went in a Ford Focus, and so I was worried, but luckily the rain stopped until after the wedding. After that, but so anyways, I got there, and so I don't I don't shoot video, let alone shoot weddings. And shooting
Mhm.
weddings takes a very special type of skill.
Did you
Um,
shoot it alone or did you have a partner?
no, I shot it alone.
Oh,
Yeah, and
lone wolf.
so
Okay.
I did the best I could. So I'm not skilled in shooting video. Um, I have kind of a really really nice camera setup.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah,
I like that. I like that half rig you got there, little cage. It's
yeah.
really cool.
So me and one of my friends split this camera, and it actually came with the cage around it, and then I bought a handle to put on it right here.
Oh, yep.
And then we later on got a Rhodes mic for just basic videos or really good scratch audio,
Mhm.
because it plugs directly into the camera. And then this is a nice light that I've just had for a while. Um,
Nice. Wow.
and this is um, I always mess up the type of lens this is. It's a 24 by 70 lens. That's just a amazing all-purpose lens.
Nice. That's a nice mid lens, and you got the wide end, and then a
Ye-
little bit of the telephoto side.
Yeah, and then I personally, because I'm not too skilled in cameras and camera operations, I usually just switch between that and a 55 millimeter lens.
Mhm.
I use the 55 millimeter when I want bokeh. Uh,
Oh, that's right. I remember you telling me you had the 55 Zeiss lens on there.
yeah, it's
Nice.
amazing. But
Yeah.
personally, I'm like I said, I'm more of an editor, and so I'm not
Mhm.
skilled behind a camera. But even with even with that setup, it's almost foolproof. Like as long as you get your shot in frame and in focus, like you'll get a beautiful shot.
Yeah, but how are you like editing the weddings? What are your things about that?
Oh, so hold on. So let me let me finish the story of recording the
Yeah,
wedding.
yeah, please, please.
It was fun. So I get up there, and it's wedding day. So I have the gimbal I bought from you, the Ronin
Hmm.
gimbal, and it's working. But here's the thing: I did not download the app. And I realized that about half an hour before the wedding, when I was balancing it, I'm like, oh, I should get the app. Well, guess what? There's no cell service.
Ah,
So I could not get the app. I had barely enough cell service to send texts. And it was only if I stood in one spot of the cattle ranch that I had cell service. So um, I did the best I could without the app. But every now and then I was holding the gimbal and the whole
mhm.
camera would just flip upside down and be like, nope, I'm done. And so there were multiple times where I had to have the gimbal, but also hold the camera and make sure that it wasn't going to flip because it was like the prime shot and I needed to make sure I got it. And so I had to hold the camera
Yeah.
while holding the gimbal and just make sure that it wasn't just going to like flip upside down and all that. So that was fun. So anyway, so it started to sprinkle half an hour before the wedding too. And it was a nice camera that I had with a nice gimbal that at the time I was borrowing. I did not buy it from you yet. I was borrowing
Oh yeah.
some like
Yep.
this stuff cannot get wet. What am I gonna do? So I got an umbrella and I would hold an umbrella under my arm while I'm holding the camera and the gimbal walking
Uh-huh.
around. It was a mess, but I actually somehow got uh amazing footage out of it. Some of it's a little shaky, which I can stabilize and post, but I somehow got some amazing camera shots out of it. And when it comes to editing the video, uh, I'm an editor by trade, and so uh, you know it's e- editing a wedding is kind of like editing a short film, which
Hmm.
I have experience in, and so I feel like it's a little bit on the easier side for me. But I was just surprised how much footage I had to go through because looking back at the wedding, I don't remember recording that much footage, but I guess I did. And it's mostly kind of sifting through the footage. And also with a wedding, you know, you're not just using your editorial style, you're kind of catering it to what style they are and what style they like. And so, especially with the music you put behind it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I feel like when it comes to weddings, when I first started doing wedding videos about I want to say 4 years ago, at first I kind of created my own little template that I like to use, start as a nice baseline.
Hmm.
But now, I mean, shoot, it's a lot different now because like the every time I shoot a wedding, like all of the footage, all of the files put together, it adds up to about 1 terabyte um, of stuff. And so what I really like to do is I try to remember like what are the most highlight or the most unique moments of that day. I mean, of course, when you think of a wedding, it's like, okay, cool. They have the ceremony, they have the first dance, they do a kiss and blah, blah, blah. They cut the cake, right? That you'll see that in every wedding video. But I always try to find like the most unique moments. Like sometimes there's like these weird not weird moments, but there's these moments in weddings where like you see somebody of the bridal party or a parent just trying to calm or relax the bride or the groom or someone trying to save the day and be a hero. And like I try to look for those and I like try to creep and just film them while that's happening. Even though like it's a moment where like, dude, they need space. I'm like, no, I'm getting this shot.
You need space now. You'll thank me later.
Exactly, exactly. It's about the small moments because every wedding video is about the highlights of the big moments, but I try to find the small ones.
You know what's funny
Yeah.
is it's little things like that that I don't know because I don't um I don't do weddings. And my cousin actually wanted to pay me for doing the wedding. And I'm like, no, please, no, please, no. Like, don't pay me, because if this comes out bad, I don't want you guys to pay for bad work. I don't think it'll come out bad, but prior to the wedding, I honestly, like, I had no idea how it was going to turn out. I'm like, at the end of the day, I can send them some like raw files or something, and they can at least, have video moments that they captured, or I can take, the clip of them doing their first kiss and slow it down and put music over it or something. And like, at least they have that. At the end of the day, at least they'll have something if I really screw up. Um,
Hmm.
but I actually, I'm in the process of editing it right now, and so far it's looking like kind of amazing. They right after they got married, how people do the sand thing where they fill up a jar with the two different types of sand. um
Yeah. Yep.
so they, instead of doing that, they actually welded something. um because so they live on uh like the rural area of California, and he's a welder. And so,
Hmm.
and she's really crafty. Like, she can do some like amazing like crafty projects that people like us in the city here like wouldn't even picture. Like, we can't even imagine that until we see it. It's like, oh, I would have never thought of that. But so they actually welded something together, um for, instead of doing that like sand type thing. And so I was able to
Hmm.
actually get some really cool slow motion shots of them welding, which ended up looking pretty freaking cool.
I think I could already imagine how that looks, because I mean, if it's kind of like you said, it was like a cloudy, maybe it sprinkled earlier that day, so it's
Hmm.
like an overcast day,
Yeah.
and then they you just add this bright light source between them, and they're just welding. It just goes like it
Yeah.
just exploding. That could be really awesome.
And then, you do some cool color tricks after to like put some like a JJ Abrams like filter on it or something to where like,
Super 8.
yeah, it could end up looking like really, really cool. Side note, why did Adobe cancel their program that was basically just for color grading? Like, what the heck? Remember,
Hmm.
so in the Adobe suite, I think it was called Adobe Grade or something like that. But it
Mm.
was kind of like Lightroom, but it was meant for videos and color grading the videos. Um,
Oh yeah, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I think that what they're really trying to do is just incorporate everything into Premiere, so you're using the Lumetri colors in Premiere. Um, but I mean, I never really used the that program that you're talking about. My thing is that my gripe that I have with Adobe right now is, if you're using a Mac, regardless of how old or new it is, you cannot use CUDA anymore. So you're actually using
mm,
whatever they call it, the rendering process called Metal or something.
oh,
So
interesting.
yeah, so if you want to run it smooth now, it's like, well, hopefully you have like an iMac like what you use, or the new i9 MacBooks. Yeah.
That's I'm editing my cousin's video off an i9 MacBook. Um,
Mm.
because that one, I wanted to make sure that I could do that project kind of wherever, even if I'm like away, I could still work on it. And so I did that one on my laptop. Plus, um, it wasn't like too heavy of a project, and so I know it's going to take forever to render when I'm done with it. But uh, I'm just doing that one on my laptop. Um, it it works surprisingly well, honestly. I wasn't kind of expecting it to actually work well, especially because Premiere is slightly more optimized for powerful PCs over Macs. They put a lot more
Yeah.
they put a lot more energy into optimizing it for a PC, which is kind of odd, but also makes sense because it's kind of like a spite to Apple, because Apple has Final Cut Pro, which they put a lot of time and energy into, and that's like kind of competition for Adobe. So like,
Yeah,
kind of
no,
makes sense,
definitely.
but no, I have that large iMac back there for the heavier when I'm dealing with like red raw footage, like 6K red raw footage.
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you mean. But but that's the thing, man. Like it's all about the codecs too, because even my laptop, like if I had a 4K MP4 file, like there's no way that's gonna run smooth
Oh
on
yeah,
my
yeah.
computer.
Oh yeah, like that one a film I'm editing right now, it was shot in Red Raw, uh 5K footage, I think. And I would not even dream of trying that on my laptop. It's uncompressed raw footage from a Red camera in 5K. Uh I'm not even actually trying to run it at run the full 5K on, and that's a brand new iMac. It's like,
Mm.
besides storage space, it's top of the line. And I don't even try. I have proxy set up to where all the footage sits on an external drive, and I'm basically editing in 720. I'm not even trying with that. And even then, there's so much uncompressed footage, and the timeline is so complex that every now and then I'll start to see it slow down a little bit.
Wow.
And that's on a brand new iMac. It's like,
Mhm.
if I do anything crazier, I'm gonna have to get that new Mac Pro.
Oh yeah, that little $5,000 one.
Six. Oh no, no, yeah.
6. Jeez.
The monitor is 6,000. I think that one starts
Yep.
at 5,000.
Man.
But that monitor is nice. The
Mhm.
XDR.
Yep.
But I'm
Speaking
not
of
editing.
editing,
Yeah.
speaking of that, how's that new studio? I know you had a studio coming
It's
up. I
lonely.
it's
It's lonely.
I was supposed to go hang out with you in there, but I kind of don't want to.
Yeah. No, it's lonely, man. It's not being used. It sucks. Um it's really cool though. It's really like, it's actually, it's really different since the last time you were there. It's incredibly different. Um I have like a more of a lobby area now. I have like a lot more seating, like comfortable seating and stuff. I have two desks, so if I ever have someone over who brings a laptop, they can use something while I'm using my station and all that. Um, the all of those panels I was putting on the wall, those are all done. Uh, I have one wall that I'm trying to figure out what to do with right now, but I can leave it as is for now. I have like my company logo up in the lobby, like some decorations up there. It looks really cool, but it's lonely.
You need a Red Bull fridge, man. Everybody needs a Red Bull fridge.
I have a
I f-
fridge.
okay.
Um, what I really want, to be honest, I want to. So Red Bull, they used to have a system where you could get a fridge for free, and you get it stocked for the first time for free. Um, and the only thing is, they encourage you to reorder from them every time you run out. They don't make you, but they encourage it. They are kind of pushy about it. If you say no, they are just like, "Well, we gave you the fridge, so you should order more," but they don't. You don't have to. Um, but I would totally reorder from it. I just don't think
Yeah.
they do that program anymore.
But it makes sense though, because it's like you know, the how Nestle does that for water with their offices. It's like,
Hmm.
yeah, we'll give you water for your office, but we'll also give you the little water tower and the and the paper cones.
Yeah,
Um, so I guess that makes sense.
I would totally do that too, because I don't have a sink in my office, and
Mm.
so if I'm gonna have water or anything, I have no water source, so I would totally do like a water thing, like a subscription through them or something, to where they just come like once a month and restock. I would totally do that. Obviously, I'm waiting until all this COVID stuff is over, because I have no income with my company right now, um, which leads me to a different topic. How the heck are you still getting work right now?
Well, oh, that's actually a really good question. You know, like I mentioned earlier, I'm a videographer, and there's a lot of different kind of videographers out there, right? There's commercial, there's a wedding, and blah blah blah. So I was actually working with a commercial client where we were going to be filming several commercials that we were going to be pushing out through, you know, like Google Ads, Instagram, and Facebook ads.
Hmm.
And then this whole lockdown thing came on, right? So the thing about the one thing that really sets a videographer apart from the rest of the other videographers in the market is you got to stop making people think you're a videographer. I personally don't like to brand myself as a videographer. I really like to let people know that, hey, I'm more than a guy. I'm more than a human tripod.
Mm.
I like to brand myself more as a business consultant, where I'm really trying to focus on your goals, and my niche just happens to be video production. So we had this whole plan where we're gonna be filming these commercials and try to get some more customers or leads through their doors. Obviously, that business is closed, and now you can't. Obviously, nobody wants to go through those doors anymore.
Yeah.
So I told them, it's like, well, we can't do this project that we originally discussed, right? But I told them that, but if you still want to have, business and have a source of revenue, we can pivot away from this. And I'll leave that up to you. But I went through this whole content strategy, and now we just moved all of their business online. I'm just gonna say it just to give get a foundation for everybody listening. So it was a fitness company, and they did personal training and therapy and chiropractic. So you need, right? You need to get that kind of service. You have to go to the trainer. You have to go to the healthcare provider for that. But what we did is we created a series of videos like this for the past 3 weeks. I produced I want to say 54 videos in 3 weeks. It's a lot of. It's
Are
a
you
lot.
serious?
It's a lot, dude. Yeah, that's why I had to get that little raid system.
Yeah, yeah, I can see why now.
So literally, what we're doing is we created an online program that their members could buy into, and now they're doing daily workouts. Now they're doing daily stretches and little spine decompression exercises that they can do at home, and perfect. So now I just turned a physical fitness business into an e-commerce business,
and that's probably something that they can carry on with, and would probably actually greatly increase their business, because people who just started joining online during this time might want to come in person when this is over because they liked it. And it could be like an amazing kind of gateway for new clients. Like they're not quite sure about it, but they try the online first. And then once they start really getting into the online, they're like, oh, well, I can do in person too. Like that's probably not just now it's benefiting them, but it's probably going to benefit them for the rest of their history, like the rest of their career.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the whole goal of it was to really just, maintain a source of revenue for this brand. And so I was also creating content for them through their Instagram. And it wasn't even our goal to even build an audience. When I first started working for that company, they started at 1,100 followers. And then today, after working 3 weeks with them, they're at 5,600 followers on Instagram.
Wow.
So so I would say a little bit over 4,000 followers since then. And even now, we're even thinking about more ways of streams of revenue for that company. So now that a lot of people are supporting this fitness brand through the workout videos and the at-home stretches and therapy, I'm starting to tell them hey, you know what? I think it's time to start thinking about merchandise. Because people are, because there's different sets of programs, right? There's there's a dumbbell lifting program, and then there's a yoga program. And so imagine that, everybody wants to be oh, hey, I'm a proud yoga program of that company now.
Yeah. Well, when you really believe in a brand and you like the people, you tend to end up wanting to actually rep their merch.
Yeah, see, exactly. Linus Tech Tips, man.
LTTstore.com.
There we go, dude. Hey, man, if I hope Linus sees this, man, because I want to get endorsed too.
I bought that. I happily bought that water bottle, and so far it's great. Not okay. I'm gonna stop giving them free advertising, but. No, anyways, no, that's merchandising is obvious next step once they get recognizable as a brand, because people will want to merch. I mean, I have a dead mouse pin on my jacket because I owe a lot of my career to Dead Mouse in like kind of an indirect way. Um,
Yeah.
and I actually just realized this recently because someone was just like, well, uh, we were just having like a very random conversation. He's like, I have a question for you. If you were to thank one person and only one person for your current career, who would you thank? And I'm like, honestly, Dead Mouse. And they like looked really confused. And I'm just like, well, he would always live stream his music production, and I watched religiously, and it gave me a lot of ideas. And then, I started following him, and a lot of different aspects. And, me and him have had a couple back and forths on Twitter and such. And, he played one of my songs that I made on his live stream,
Whoa.
and that song kind of like blew up after that because of his following. And he gave me some mixing advice because if you know Dead Mouse, he's not exactly someone who sugarcoats anything.
Yeah.
He's very blunt. But he gave me some mix advice, but he was just like, but the melody is like the original. I like this a lot. I actually like it. And he was like bopping his head and stuff. What's funny is he has a song called Phantoms Can't Hang, and I have a song called Phantoms. But the reason why I called my song Phantoms is because I'm using a preset on a plugin that he is part owner of, and the preset is called Phantoms. That's why I called my song Phantoms. And so when he was listening to the song, and there's a really funny clip of this, um, he as soon as he heard the preset from the synthesizer plugin that he's part owner of and he uses all the time, as soon as he heard that preset, he paused and goes, "Oh, why is it called Phantoms, huh?"
Oh, why is it called Phantoms?
It was it was really funny. And then he just kind of like laughed. But yeah, and so he ended up getting into film scoring. And so do you know the movie Polar on Netflix?
Polar. I don't think I'm familiar with it. No.
Okay, it's a movie about different assassins and stuff, and one of them trying to retire out of the assassin life and kind of have a normal life. It's a very interesting movie, but he scored the whole movie, um, and that kind of like, oh, like I should like look at getting into film. And I already did some film editing for some public officials in the city, Milpitas. And so I started getting into like scoring, which inevitably led to getting into editing. Because my first big job was actually sound editing job for a film that was already edited. Um, and then from there, I got another client, which was also just a sound edit for one of her films. But then I ended up she ended up asking me like, "Hey, do you know how to do this? Like, can you do this for me since you already have all the footage?" And so I would do some editing there, which then led to more editing jobs. So if it wasn't for Dead Mouse, I would have probably never gotten into film, and just gotten heavily into editing. And then there's a couple like friends I have who supply me with some work, and so but yeah, it's interesting. But because of that, to make a short story long, I'm very connected with his brand, so I have no problem repping his brand. Anyways, if you have a fitness company and it truly worked, and now you're like way more fit than ever, you're going to want to rep the brand. And so, going way back to your point, merchandising is like an obvious next step for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I
then you could
feel
get
like
some
it's
cool
yeah.
B-roll footage.
Oh yeah,
of
of
the
course.
merchandise for their advertisements and stuff, which would be really cool.
Hmm. Oh yeah, for sure. But yeah, no, I like Dead Mouse, man, and he's I remember he had a series. Does he still do that series where he gets coffee with people? That's like a long time ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, he hasn't done one of those in a while, but he had a period of time where he was just like locked in his house working on music and working on graphics for his cube for his live setup. And then he spent like I feel like it was like a year and a half just on tour. so he was like never home. And then he recently finished up his tour, and obviously Canada's in shelter in place right now. And so, but I hope he gets back into that, but he hasn't done it in a while. I hope he does, though. Those are really funny and cool.
Yeah, he kind of normalized the whole political correctness of I guess of that music industry, because it's like I feel like
Yeah.
So like because you already know how the way he talks and the way how he interacts with people, and he'll literally just do an F-bomb and not even care about it. Like
Yeah.
like for like Zed couldn't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 Deadmau5 landed himself in some hot water once, and then kind of retracted it back a little bit. But then it was really funny. After he started getting a little bit more politically correct and stuff, he posted something on Reddit about someone else, just like completely slamming them. I think he was at a show and he could like hear on the next stage over, he could hear this DJ duo on the mic like consistently through like the whole show. And which,
like they were talking.
Well, yeah, you know how like when you're at a live show, the DJ will be like, "Put your hands up," like before a drop. Apparently, they're doing like that. They're doing that like the entire time, which I see where he was coming from, because I hate that when I'm at a show. And like, I came to listen to your music, not you drunkenly yelling into a mic. But apparently he went on Reddit and like ripped him open, and everyone was just like, "He's back."
Yeah, you know, I would have to agree with that, because here's the thing. Like I've been to EDC I think like 3 times, and if a DJ tells me to jump, I'm just kind of like, well, I kind of paid to see you here. You're the one getting paid. Why don't you jump?
Don't tell me what to do.
Yeah, don't tell me what to do. I'm paying you.
I'm the boss here.
Yeah.
I am the captain now.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, so he just like ripped him open on Reddit, and it was funny because everyone was just like, "He's back." But yeah, and so, man, this got so far off topic.
Dude, I know. Actually, you know, I wanted to know a little bit more about I guess some upcoming projects. I know you and I have been meeting and discussing about a future project, and I think it's like a short or like a web series. I've been in contact with the director that you introduced me to. I just kind of like text him here and there. I don't know if we're allowed to even talk about it here, but I guess we can really just lightly touch on what we're planning on doing. And
yeah, I'm not going to go into the content of the project or any names or anything like that, just because I'm not sure quite how he would feel about that. But the technical aspect of what's going to go into it, most definitely, we can definitely talk about that. Yeah, so we were looking for a cinematographer, videographer for that series, and the director asked me if I knew anyone, and I'm just like, yeah, I know this guy. Let me show you his reel, and I sent that over without telling you, and then I told you afterwards, and then I sent him your next reel after that too, after he already kind of decided on you for that. But yeah, it's I don't know if I'd call it a web series or short film series or what technically it's going to end up being, but it's going to be super, super cool. But the team is basically going to be me, you, and a friend of mine who I hire to record sound every time I'm on set. I can do that, but he's better at that than I am, and I want to focus more on technical directing and script supervising, and so I like hiring him for that. But no, that'll be really cool, actually. That'll be a fun little series.
Yeah, well, I want to know what your opinion is on in terms of like web series. Like, do you think the long form web series is still a thing where people could, like, do you think that window of opportunity on YouTube or Vimeo, for example, is still there?
Not only do I think it's still there, but I think it's rapidly expanding. And will play a huge part in careers in the future. I just think the barrier of entry was set way higher. So what I mean by that is, I think YouTube careers, YouTube companies. Um, I think they're here to stay, and they're going to be an even larger thing in the future. But it is way harder to get into that industry now, like successfully. So 10 years ago, there wasn't a lot of employment opportunity or like careers opportunity from YouTube, but the barrier of entry was really low and you could just upload videos. No one cared about quality, no one cared about quantity. You could just upload videos and some people would watch them. And so, like, barrier of entry down here, and employment opportunity also right here, they both started rising at the same time. So as it got harder to get into that industry, there also became a lot more opportunity for the industry. And let's just say right now, it's probably easier to get a job as an editor for a YouTuber than to become a YouTuber.
I would actually agree on that, because you know how on LinkedIn or on Indeed you can get the email notifications on job openings.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually have the video producer notification bell on down in the Burbank, North Hollywood area, and dude, there are so many like YouTubers that are looking for editors, because you and I both know nowadays it's like, that's cool. You can you could have like a high production film or some kind of short, but the thing is, when you have a fan base or like a brand to create content for on YouTube and it's big, it's like your followers, they're here to stay, and they want to see they want to see the quantities over the quality, you know what I mean? So it's just like I think nowadays they're not even editing their own stuff anymore. They're really just out there vlogging, filming themselves, and like they'll just give their editor, here's the card, now I got to go back to vlogging.
Well, if you look at Linus Tech Tips, Linus Sebastian himself is the CEO of the company, and he does not edit videos. He has a editing team of like almost 10 people who edits all of his videos and stuff. And granted, they have like 5 YouTube channels for that one company that they are. And so they have a lot of work to do. And Linus Tech Tips has daily videos, and 2 of their shows, I think, are 3 times a week. One of them is and the other 2 are as needed. And so they actually just, Linus Tech Tips just opened up a new channel called Short Circuit, where they can do like just unboxings and stuff, basically videos that don't really fit the theme of their main channel. But it's mostly like unboxings, like tech stuff unboxings. And they just do that whenever they get new products. But yeah, so Linus himself doesn't really edit videos, or not doesn't really, he doesn't at all. But he's like kind of the face of the company.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes it so successful, is like where you can understand what your weaknesses are in terms of a production, and then just focus on your strength and not take any time in just in trying to improve your weaknesses. And I think that's what's so cool about filmmaking, where it's like me personally, like I think it'd be cool if one of these days I boom operated, but why would that be effective of our production time, right? Definitely not. I mean, I've boomed before. I'm not good at it, but I have fun doing it. But I'm a lot better at like, working the camera and setting up lights and angles. So, obviously like the executive producer is going to be like, no, you're staying on camera because I'm not letting you touch this mic.
Well, that's why for certain jobs, it's like I hire out someone who I know is better than me at audio recording, like boom operating. I hire him to do it, and I don't even try, because I know that he's way better at that than I am. So I'm not going to try. I'm going to focus on what I'm good at. And for this upcoming series where we needed a cinematographer, I gave you a call. Like, I have a great camera that can shoot in 4K. I have all the stuff to do it. But that's not my skill. I called you because you're way better at that than I am. And even I'm just like, hey, use all my stuff if you want. Like, if you need a second camera, if you want some extra lighting, Like if you like whatever I have, you can use it, but I'm not doing that because you have that skill that I don't really have.
Yeah, I think it's just the self-awareness that really makes any production, regardless of what industry you're in, successful, you know?
Yeah. Well,
So,
you know, me, I could have been like a snake and just put a lav mic on all of the actors and used my camera and my lighting and did everything myself and just
mhm,
took the entire paycheck for myself. I could have done that, but
yeah.
the product would have not been nearly as good as if I hire someone who specializes in boom operation and someone who specializes in cinematography, and then I kind of mold the team together, and you know I put my specialty of post production on there because everyone has their own specific job that they're a specialist at. Like that final product is going to be amazing. The last the last thing I worked on um, was it turned out to be amazing quality for that exact reason. Is everyone kind of had their thing and they you know they specialized it at that and they did it and that's why it turned out as good as it was with you know a lot of effort on my part, but during shooting it was like very minimal effort. There's very low stress. We had one incident where um, a battery died on a camera while it was recording, and it's a red camera with red hard drives, and so unless you do recovery on the hard drive, all that footage that you recorded is gone.
Oh,
Yeah, but we were able to do a recovery and get all the footage back, so it ended up being fine.
okay. Would you consider that the biggest on-set nightmare you've ever had,
In
like out
real
on a
life or in my
project?
dreams?
Oh yeah, no, like in real
I
life,
have
like
nightmares about what could go wrong. Like I show up to a shoot and I forget my laptop or I forget all my gear or I forget
mhm.
my pants. Like it just some it's something I have nightmares about stuff like that. Yeah, that's actually there's one time I showed up. I was doing video for reference, but audio. I was recording audio for an elected official for a rally one time, and I showed up and I forgot my all my SD cards.
Oh,
um, I was so lucky that I lived about 6 minutes away from the place, so I was able to run home and grab my SD cards and run back before the thing started. Very similar thing happened when I was DJing at the bar one time. I forgot my laptop charger. And
no
so,
way.
yeah, so but luckily I was not that close, but I was still pretty close and I was able to run home and grab my laptop charger and run back. The manager was kind of annoyed at me though cuz I showed up a little I started kind of late.
Oh man, I got a story for you then.
Let's hear it.
This is my biggest project nightmare. It was actually during a wedding.
Oh no.
Yeah, so this was about, I want to say, 2.5 years ago, and the wedding was in the middle of the dead summer heat of and we were all the way out in San Ramon, and I think you know where San Ramon is,
Yeah.
where it's just hot. It's like Livermore-ish, right?
Yeah.
Like hot, dry. So this was at the Bridges golf course out there, and what happened was there was three video shooters. One of the video shooters, he was kind of a hefty guy, and imagine we were out. It's an outdoor wedding, so we were out in the sun all day. After the ceremony, dude passes out from like heat, from like the heat, like just dude, like straight up,
Dang.
like just the body is there. So me and the other shooter were like, what the hell? What do we do? And basically like the golf course staff, they even had to like open up like one of the offices or the room so he could like lie down and things like that.
Whew.
And then we're like, hey man, you know, we gotta call you like an ambulance, man. You don't look okay. Like he was just not there, and then he was just like, and that was the only time we can get him to respond, because we're like, yo, wake up, are you good, He was not responding. But the only time he would respond would be when we asked him, hey, we got to call you an ambulance, and he would respond, no, I can't afford that, those are expensive. We know ambulance bills are expensive as hell, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, so that happened, and we're like, okay, well, like, I had to discuss it with the other shooter. We're like, okay, well, he doesn't want us to call an ambulance, so what, are we just gonna let this dude die here? So like, what the heck? Like, we're like, the grand entrance for the reception is like about to start. So what do we go do our job and we just let this guy die? you know? But within a few minutes, they got him some ice water, and it was probably like a just overheating. It was just so hot, dude. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah, and a lot of wedding videographers, including me, we like to wear all black to these weddings and be uniform. So it's like, dude, like I was, and here's the thing, the attire that I wear to weddings when I'm working is I usually wear black pants, black shoes, and then the black polo shirt, but it's the black golf polo shirt, so it's like a dry fit.
Yeah.
So, but even then, I still felt hot. So imagine like a larger 300-pound videographer dude wearing a cotton long sleeve dress shirt in the dry summer heat. So, yeah, so that was the nightmare. And we got to the reception. He was good to go, and he's still alive now. And fast forward a year later, I hired that same videographer who passed out at the wedding, and he helped me film like one of the best wedding films I've ever filmed. And it was cool because he shot the entire wedding on an 85 millimeter cinema lens.
Oh, wow.
So it was all manual focus, and he nailed every shot. Because I asked him, I was like, hey, what's the best lens you're good at? He said 85 millimeter. I was like, use that. He was like, for everything all day. And he did it, and it looked good.
Dang.
So, yeah.
That is a nightmare situation, though.
Yeah, but it turned into a dream a year later, so it's okay.
Yeah, wow.